Little girl walked up to the police and says, "Follow me at home. Truth leaves everyone in tears." A little girl runs up to a police officer and whispers, "Please, follow me home." What he discovers moments later leaves everyone stunned. It was a calm Tuesday morning in Augusta, Georgia, the kind where sunlight spilled across quiet suburban streets and the air felt still, almost too peaceful. Ethan Carter sat in his patrol car, sipping his lukewarm coffee while finishing up the last bit of paperwork from his shift. At 47, after more than 2 decades on the force, Ethan thought he had seen it all, but that morning would prove him wrong. From the corner of his eye, something suddenly caught his attention, a small figure running toward him at full speed. Ethan set his coffee down and looked up just in time to see her, a little girl, no older than 7, sprinting down the sidewalk. Her pink dress was wrinkled, her tangled brown hair clung to tear-streaked cheeks, and in her arms she clutched a worn teddy bear as if her life depended on it. Ethan's instincts kicked in instantly. He shoved open the door and stepped out of his vehicle. After 23 years in uniform, he had learned to trust his gut. And right now, every fiber of his being screamed that something was terribly wrong. The girl stumbled to a stop right in front of him, gasping for breath, her tiny chest rising and falling rapidly. She looked up at him, her wide brown eyes full of fear and desperation. "Mr. Police Officer," she panted between sobs. "Please, please, you have to help me." Ethan crouched down so his eyes were level with hers, softening his voice while keeping it steady. "Hey there, sweetheart. What's your name? Are you hurt?" "I'm Lila," she whispered, wiping her nose with the back of her small hand. "Lila Brooks. I'm not hurt, but..." Her voice cracked, and fresh tears spilled down her cheeks. "But what, Lila?" Ethan asked gently, scanning the area for any sign of other adults. The street was strangely quiet. No parents, no neighbors, no one else around. Lila swallowed hard, then met his eyes with trembling courage. "It's my mama," she said in a shaky breath. She can't get up anymore. She tried to make me breakfast this morning, but she fell down and won't wake up properly. She's breathing funny, and I don't know what to do." A chill ran through Ethan's veins. His training kicked in, sharp and focused. "Where's your mama, Lila? Where do you live?" Lila pointed down the street with a trembling hand. "Not far, just 3 blocks that way. Please, mister, will you come with me? Mama always told me if something bad happened, I should find a police officer. She said police officers help people." Ethan looked around once more. Still no other adults, no commotion. Nothing but this terrified little girl who had somehow found the courage to run for help. "Of course I'll come with you, Lila," he said firmly, his tone leaving no room for doubt. "That's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to help your mama." Lila nodded, clutching her teddy bear tighter, her lip trembling but her steps determined. "Her name is Maya." "Maya Brooks," she whispered, her voice fragile but proud. "She's the best mama in the whole world. But she's been sick for a long time. She tries to hide it, but I know." They started walking quickly toward Lila's house. Ethan grabbed his radio as they moved, his voice calm but commanding. "Dispatch, this is Unit 247. I'm responding to a possible medical emergency on Maple Street, requesting backup and an ambulance." "Over." Lila hurried beside him, her little legs working hard to keep pace with his long strides. She tilted her head to look up at him. "Officer, what's your name?" "Ethan." "Ethan Carter," he replied, glancing down at her with a reassuring smile. "But you can just call me Officer Ethan if you want." "Officer Ethan," Lila said, her voice soft but steady. "My mama's really good. She works so hard and takes care of me all by herself. But lately, she's been getting weaker and weaker. And this morning, when she fell, her voice wavered as her eyes filled again. She looked so scared." Ethan slowed his pace slightly, placing a comforting hand on Lila's shoulder. "Don't worry, sweetheart," he said gently. "We'll get there. And we're going to help your mama, I promise. I've never seen her look scared before. They turned the corner onto Maple Street, and Ethan could see a small, modest house ahead with a wooden fence in a tiny front yard. It looked peaceful enough from the outside, but Ethan had learned long ago that appearances could be deceiving. "That's our house," Lila whispered, pointing to the light blue house with white shutters. "The one with the flowers Mama planted last spring." She said, "Even when things are hard, we should always try to make something beautiful." As they approached the front door, Lila suddenly stopped and grabbed Ethan's uniform sleeve. "Officer." "Ethan," she said, looking up at him with those big, trusting eyes. "Promise me something." "What's that, sweetheart?" "Promise you won't let them take her away. She just needs help to get better. She's not a bad mama. She's the best mama. She just needs someone to help her be strong again." Ethan felt something deep in his chest tighten. He knelt down and looked directly into Lila's eyes. "Lila, I promise you that we're going to do everything we can to help your mama. That's why I'm here. That's why you were so brave to come find me." Lila nodded solemnly, then turned toward the house. "Okay, but Officer Ethan, when you see her, she might look really sick, but she's still my mama, and I love her no matter what." With that, Lila Brooks, all of 7 years old, took Ethan Carter's hand and led him toward a discovery that would change both of their lives forever. Lila carefully turned the doorknob and pushed open the front door. The house was unusually quiet, the kind of quiet that felt heavy and worried. Ethan followed closely behind her, his trained eyes immediately scanning the modest living room. The first thing he noticed was how clean everything was, despite the obvious signs of struggle. A small dining table had been set for breakfast, one adult plate and one child's plate with cartoon characters on it. Half-made pancakes sat cold on the kitchen counter, and a chair was knocked over near the stove. "Mama," Lila called softly, her voice echoing in the stillness. "Mama, I brought help. I brought Officer Ethan, like you always said I should." There was no immediate response, just a faint sound coming from somewhere deeper in the house, a quiet, labored breathing that made Ethan's heart race with concern. Lila led him past family photos hanging on the walls, pictures of her and a young woman with kind eyes and a warm smile. Moments captured at birthday parties, park visits, and quiet bedtime stories. Ethan could see the love in every single photograph. "She's in the living room," Lila whispered, pointing toward an archway ahead. "That's where she fell this morning when she was trying to make my breakfast." As they entered the living room, Ethan saw her immediately. Maya Brooks was lying on a small couch covered with a colorful quilt that looked handmade. She appeared to be in her mid-30s, but her face was pale and drawn with exhaustion. Her breathing was shallow and irregular, and although her eyes were open, she seemed to be struggling to focus. Ethan approached slowly, speaking in his gentlest voice. "Ma'am, Mrs. Brooks, I'm Ethan Carter. Your daughter Lila came to find me because she was worried about you." Maya tried to turn her head toward his voice, but the movement seemed to require enormous effort. Her lips moved as if she was trying to speak, but only a whisper came out. I'm sorry," she managed to say, her voice barely audible. "Lila shouldn't have bothered you. Mama, no." Lila rushed to her mother's side, carefully taking her hand. "You told me to get help if something was really wrong, and this is really wrong." Ethan knelt beside the couch, keeping his voice calm and reassuring. "Mrs. Brooks, Lila did exactly the right thing. She was very brave and very smart. Can you tell me how you're feeling? When did you start feeling unwell?" Maya's eyes filled with tears as she looked at her daughter. "Lila, baby, I tried. I tried so hard to be strong for you." "You are strong, Mama," Lila said firmly, stroking her mother's hand. "You're the strongest person I know, but even strong people need help sometimes. That's what you always tell me." Ethan could see that Maya was clearly in medical distress, but what struck him most was the obvious bond between mother and daughter. Even in her weakened state, Maya's eyes kept moving to Lila, checking on her, worrying about her. "Mrs. Brooks, I'm going to call for medical help," Ethan said gently. "But first, can you tell me, do you have any medical conditions I should know about? Are you taking any medications?" Maya closed her eyes briefly, as if gathering strength. "To speak. Autoimmune condition," she whispered. "Haven't been able to afford my medicine for 2 months now." Lila squeezed her mother's hand. "She used to take pills every morning, but they ran out, and when we went to the doctor's office, they said we needed papers we don't have anymore." "What kind of papers, sweetie?" Ethan asked Lila while simultaneously radioing for an ambulance. "Our insurance cards and some other stuff," Lila explained. "We had to move really fast from our old apartment, and Mama says some important papers got lost in all the boxes." Ethan felt a heavy weight settling in his chest as he began to understand the situation. Here was a single mother, clearly struggling, with a serious medical condition, who had fallen through the cracks of a system that was supposed to help people like her. Maya opened her eyes again and looked directly at Ethan. "Please don't let them take Lila away. She's everything to me. I just need to get better. I can take care of her. I always have." "Mama, nobody's taking me anywhere," Lila said with surprising firmness for a 7-year-old. "Officer Ethan is here to help us, not to separate us, right, Officer Ethan?" Ethan looked at this brave little girl who was comforting her sick mother and at Maya, who even in her weakened state was more worried about her daughter than herself. "That's right, Lila," he said softly. "We're here to help your family stay together and get your mama the medical care she needs." In the distance, Ethan could hear the wail of an ambulance siren getting closer. Maya heard it too and started to panic. "No, please," she whispered urgently. "I can't afford the hospital bills. We barely have enough for rent and food." Lila looked up at Ethan with those big, trusting eyes. "Officer Ethan, you can fix this, right? You can help my mama get better without us losing our home." As the ambulance pulled up outside, Ethan realized that this was much more than a simple medical emergency. This was a family in crisis, and a little girl who had shown more courage and wisdom than many adults he knew. But looking at Lila's hopeful face and Maya's desperate eyes, Ethan knew one thing for certain. He wasn't going to walk away from this situation, not today, and not until he was sure this family was truly safe. The paramedics knocked on the door and Ethan called out, "Come in, we're in the living room." As the medical team entered, Lila stood protectively beside her mother's couch, still holding that worn teddy bear, ready to face whatever came next. The ride to Augusta General Hospital felt like the longest 15 minutes of Lila's young life. She sat in the front seat of Officer Ethan's patrol car, clutching her teddy bear and watching the ambulance ahead of them carry her mama away. "Is she going to be okay?" Lila asked for the 3rd time, her voice small and worried. Ethan glanced at her in the rearview mirror. "The paramedics are taking very good care of her, Lila. Your mama is stronger than she looks, and the doctors at the hospital are going to help her feel better." When they arrived at the emergency room, Lila jumped out of the car and ran toward the ambulance. Ethan caught up with her just as the paramedics were wheeling Maya inside on a stretcher. "Mama!" Lila called out, reaching for her mother's hand. Maya's eyes fluttered open at the sound of her daughter's voice. Despite being weak and connected to medical equipment, her face softened when she saw Lila. "I'm okay, baby," Maya whispered. "Be brave for me, just like you were this morning." A kind nurse named Patricia approached them. "Are you family?" she asked Ethan. "I'm Officer Holloway," I responded to the call. "This is Lila, her daughter." Patricia knelt down to Lila's level. "Hi there, sweetheart. We're going to take very good care of your mama, but we need to run some tests first. Would you like to wait in our family room? It has books and toys." Lila shook her head firmly. "I want to stay with my mama. She needs me. Ethan saw the determination in Lila's eyes, the same look she'd had when she ran to his patrol car that morning. "What if I stay with you, Lila? We can wait together." 2 hours passed. Lila sat quietly in the waiting room chair, occasionally asking Ethan questions about being a police officer, but her eyes kept drifting to the doors where her mama had disappeared. Finally, Dr. Martinez, a gentle woman with graying hair, approached them. "Are you here with Maya Brooks?" Lila jumped up immediately. "Yes, that's my mama. Is she better now?" Dr. Martinez smiled warmly. "Your mama is going to be fine, Lila. She was very dehydrated, and her body was fighting hard because she hasn't had her medication. We're giving her fluids and medicine through an IV, and she's already feeling much stronger. Can I see her?" Lila asked hopefully. "Of course you can. But first, I need to ask you some questions. Is there another family member I should call? A grandparent or uncle?" Lila's face fell slightly. "It's just me and Mama, but we take care of each other really good." Ethan stepped forward. "Doctor, what does Mrs. Brooks need to get better? What kind of ongoing care?" Dr. Martinez looked at Ethan with appreciation. "She needs to restart her medication regimen and have regular checkups. The challenge is—" She paused, choosing her words carefully. "Insurance and documentation issues." "What kind of issues?" Ethan asked. "She doesn't have current insurance cards, and without proper identification, it's difficult to verify her eligibility for assistance programs." Lila tugged on Ethan's sleeve. "Those are the papers that got lost when we moved, right? The ones Mama was always looking for." "That's right, sweetheart," Ethan said, his mind already working on solutions. "Dr. Martinez, how long will Mrs. Brooks need to stay in the hospital? Overnight for observation?" "Maybe 2 days. But Officer Holloway, there's something else. Mrs. Brooks is very worried about her daughter. She keeps asking about Lila's care arrangements." Lila looked up at Ethan with complete trust. "Officer Ethan will take care of me, won't you?" Ethan felt his heart skip a beat. This brave little girl was looking at him like he had all the answers, like he could fix everything that was wrong in her world. "Lila," Ethan started, then stopped. He thought about protocol, about procedures, about all the rules he was supposed to follow. Then he looked at Lila's hopeful face and made a decision that surprised even him. "Yes, Lila, we'll figure this out together." Dr. Martinez raised her eyebrows. "Officer, are you sure about that? There are proper channels for temporary custody. Situations." "Dr. Martinez," Ethan said quietly, "this little girl showed incredible courage today. She saved her mother's life by being brave enough to ask for help. The least I can do is make sure she doesn't have to face this alone." Lila smiled for the first time since that morning. "Can we see Mama now? I want to tell her that everything's going to be okay." As they walked toward Maya's room, Ethan realized that his simple Tuesday morning had turned into something much bigger. He was no longer just responding to a call. He was becoming part of a family story, and for reasons he couldn't quite explain yet, that felt exactly right. When they entered Maya's hospital room, Lila's face immediately brightened. Her mama was sitting up in bed looking much better than she had just hours before. The color had returned to her cheeks, and her breathing was steady and calm. "Mama!" Lila rushed to the bedside, careful not to disturb the IV line in Maya's arm. "Oh, my brave girl," Maya whispered, pulling Lila into a gentle hug. "I heard what you did today. You saved my life, sweetheart." Lila buried her face against her mother's shoulder. "I was so scared, Mama. But Officer Ethan helped me, just like you always said a police officer would." Maya looked over Lila's head at Ethan, her eyes filled with gratitude and something else. "Worry, Officer Holloway, I can't thank you enough, but I need to ask what happens now. Where will Lila stay while I'm here?" Ethan pulled up a chair beside the bed. "Mrs. Brooks, I've been thinking about that." "I have," A guest room at my house and my mother lives nearby. She's a retired nurse. Oh, I couldn't ask you to, Maya started, but Ethan held up his hand gently. You're not asking. I'm offering. Lila is a remarkable little girl, and after what happened today, I want to make sure she's safe and cared for. Lila looked between her mother and Ethan. Mama, remember how you always told me that sometimes angels come in different uniforms? Maybe Officer Ethan is one of our angels. Maya's eyes filled with tears, but she smiled. Maybe you're right, baby. Dr. E. Martinez knocked softly and entered the room. Mrs. Brooks, how are you feeling? Much better, thank you. When can I go home? To my daughter. Well, that's what I want to discuss, Dr. Martinez said, pulling up another chair. Your blood work shows you've been without your medication for quite some time. We need to get you stabilized and create a treatment plan. How long will that take? Maya asked anxiously. A few days, maybe a week. But Mrs. Brooks, there's something important we need to address. Your medication is expensive and without insurance verification. Maya's face went pale again. How expensive? About $200 per month. The room fell silent. Lila didn't understand the exact numbers, but she understood the look on her mother's face, the same look Maya had when the rent was due and the money was tight. Mama, don't worry, Lila said softly. We'll figure it out. We always do. Ethan cleared his throat. Dr. Martinez, what kind of documentation does Mrs. Brooks need to qualify for assistance programs? Birth certificate, social security card, proof of residence, and previous medical records. The challenge is that many assistance programs have waiting lists. Maya closed her eyes. I had all of those things. But when we had to move quickly from our apartment, I packed so fast. I must have left them behind. Why did you have to move quickly, Mama? Lila asked innocently. Maya hesitated. Well, sweetheart, sometimes landlords need their apartments back for other reasons. Ethan sensed there was more to that story, but he didn't push. Instead, he said, Mrs. Brooks, getting new copies of those documents isn't impossible. It just takes time and knowing the right people to call. I tried calling so many places, Maya said quietly, but every office wanted different forms, and I didn't know how to navigate it all. As a single mother working 2 part-time jobs, I barely had time to make the calls, let alone visit all those government offices. Lila reached for her mother's hand. Mama, you don't have to do it all by yourself anymore. Officer Ethan said he would help us. Ethan nodded. Lila's right. Tomorrow, I'm going to make some calls. I know people in the right departments who can help us cut through the red tape. Dr. Martinez smiled. Officer Holloway, it's wonderful to see community support like this, Mrs. Brooks. With proper documentation and Officer Holloway's assistance, we should be able to get you into several assistance programs. But what if it takes too long? Maya asked. What if I can't get better fast enough to take care of Lila? Lila climbed carefully onto the hospital bed and snuggled against her mother's side. Mama, remember what you always tell me when I'm scared about something? What's that, baby? You say, Lila, we take it one day at a time and we never give up hope, so that's what we're going to do. Maya looked at her 7-year-old daughter in amazement. When did you become so wise? I learned from the best mama in the world, Lila said simply. Ethan watched this exchange and felt something shift inside his chest. These two had been facing their challenges alone for so long, but they'd never lost their love for each other or their hope for better days. Mrs. Brooks, Ethan said, I want you to focus on getting better. Let me worry about the paperwork and the logistics. Lila and I will handle everything else. Maya looked at him with tears in her eyes. Officer Holloway, why are you doing all this for strangers? Ethan was quiet for a moment. Then he looked at Lila, who was watching him with those big, trusting brown eyes. Because sometimes, he said softly, helping someone else is exactly what we need to heal ourselves. That evening, Ethan drove Lila to his house, a cozy two-story home with a white picket fence and a garden full of roses. Lila pressed her face against the car window, taking in everything. "Your house is really pretty, Officer Ethan," she said softly. "Mama would love those flowers." "My mother planted most of them," Ethan replied, pulling into the driveway. "She lives just 2 streets over. I called her while you were saying goodnight to your mama, and she's very excited to meet you." Lila clutched her teddy bear tighter. "Is she nice? Sometimes grown-ups don't know how to talk to kids." Ethan smiled. "Lila, my mother, Nora, has been taking care of people her whole life. She was a nurse for 40 years. If anyone knows how to make someone feel safe and welcome, it's her." As they walked up to the front door, Lila noticed something that made her stop. "Officer Ethan, look." She pointed to a small garden gnome sitting beside a tiny fairy house under the rose bushes. "Does someone magical live here? My mother says that garden fairies bring good luck to families who need it most," Ethan said, unlocking the door. "She's been putting those fairy houses in gardens for 20 years. The front door opened before they could knock, and Nora Holloway stepped out. She was a woman in her 60s with silver hair pulled back in a neat bun, wearing a lavender cardigan and the kindest eyes Lila had ever seen. "You must be Lila," Nora said, kneeling down to Lila's eye level. "I'm Nora, Ethan's mama. I've been looking forward to meeting the brave little girl who saved her mother today." Lila looked at Nora carefully, then at Ethan. "You have a mama too?" "Everyone has a mama, sweetheart." Nora laughed gently, even police officers. "And let me tell you, Ethan was just as brave as you when he was little, always trying to help everyone." "Really?" Lila's eyes lit up with curiosity. "Really? Come inside and I'll show you some pictures while I make you a proper dinner. I bet you haven't eaten much today." Lila's stomach rumbled loudly, making all 3 of them laugh. "I guess I am pretty hungry," she admitted. Inside the house, Lila was amazed by how warm and welcoming everything felt. There were family photos everywhere, soft quilts draped over chairs, and the smell of something delicious cooking in the kitchen. Nora led Lila to the living room, where a photo album was waiting on the coffee table. "These are pictures of Ethan when he was about your age," she said, opening to the first page. Lila giggled at a photo of young Ethan in a police costume, standing proudly next to a bicycle. "He looks just like you do now, but tiny." "He always wanted to help people," Nora said. "One time when he was 8, he found a lost kitten and walked through the whole neighborhood until he found its family. He wouldn't give up, even when it started raining." Ethan felt his cheeks warm. "Mom, you don't need to tell every embarrassing story." "It's not embarrassing. It's wonderful," Lila said. "Seriously, it shows that you've always been a helper, just like my mama always says. Some people are born to take care of others." Nora looked at Ethan with raised eyebrows, impressed by Lila's wisdom. "Your mama sounds very smart, Lila." "She is. She teaches me something new every day. She says that even when things are hard, we should always try to see the good in people and in situations." "What a beautiful way to live," Nora said softly. "Lila, I think your mama and I would be good friends." During dinner, Lila told Nora all about her mama, how Maya read her stories every night, how they had dance parties in their living room, and how her mama always found ways to make holidays special even when money was tight. "She sounds like a wonderful mother," Nora said. "And you know what? I can see where you get your strength from." "What do you mean?" Lila asked, twirling spaghetti around her fork. "Well, it takes a very strong little girl to run 3 blocks to find help when she's scared, and it takes an even stronger little girl to comfort her mama when she's worried. Those are gifts your mama gave you." Lila thought about this while she ate. "Nora, can I ask you something?" "Of course, sweetheart." "My mama is going to get better, right? And we'll be able to live together again." Nora reached across the table and gently touched Lila's hand. Lila, your mama loves you more than anything in the world. And sometimes, when people love each other that much, they find ways to overcome even the biggest challenges. But what if the medicine costs too much money? What if we can't get the papers we need? Ethan and Nora exchanged a look. Ethan leaned forward. Lila, do you remember what your mama told you about taking things one day at a time? Lila nodded. Well, tomorrow I'm going to make some phone calls to people who help families in situations like yours. And Nora knows lots of people from her nursing days who understand how to navigate the medical system. Nora smiled. That's right. And Lila, there's something I've learned in my 66 years. When good people work together to help someone they care about, amazing things can happen. Lila looked around the warm kitchen at Ethan and Nora, who had welcomed her into their home, and felt something she hadn't felt in a long time. Hope that felt solid and real. I think Lila said quietly. My mama was right about angels coming in different uniforms. Maybe they come in nurse uniforms too. Nora's eyes filled with tears. Oh, sweetheart, I think your mama is very wise indeed. The next morning, Lila woke up in the softest bed she'd slept in for months. Sunlight streamed through yellow curtains, and she could hear birds singing outside the window. For a moment, she forgot where she was. Then she remembered her mama was in the hospital, and she was staying with Officer Ethan and Nora. She hugged her teddy bear and whispered, Don't worry, Mama. Today is going to be a good day. Downstairs, she found Nora in the kitchen making pancakes shaped like flowers. Good morning, Sunshine, Nora said warmly. Did you sleep well? Yes, Mom. The bed was really comfortable. Thank you for letting me stay here. Ethan appeared in the doorway, already dressed in his police uniform. Good morning, Lila. Are you ready for a big day? We're going to visit your mama this morning, and then I have some important phone calls to make. Lila's face brightened immediately. Can we bring her flowers? She loves flowers. What a wonderful idea, Nora said. After breakfast, we'll pick some roses from the garden. As they ate breakfast, Ethan explained his plan. Lila, I've been thinking about your mama's situation all night. I'm going to call my friend at the Department of Health Services, and Nora knows someone at the hospital's financial assistance program. What does that mean? Lila asked carefully, cutting her flower-shaped pancake. It means, Nora explained gently, that there are people whose job it is to help families like yours. Sometimes they just need someone to help them find the right program. Lila nodded seriously. Like a treasure map, you need to know where to look for the treasure. Exactly like that. Ethan smiled. And we're going to be treasure hunters today. An hour later, they arrived at the hospital with a small bouquet of pink roses. Lila practically skipped down the hallway to her mother's room, excited to share the good news about their new friends. But when they entered Maya's room, Lila immediately noticed something was wrong. Her mama was sitting up in bed, but her eyes were red from crying, and she was holding a piece of paper in her shaking hands. Mama, what's wrong? Lila rushed to her side, the roses forgotten. Maya tried to smile and quickly wiped her eyes. Nothing, baby. These are happy tears. I'm just so grateful for Officer Ethan and Nora. But Ethan could see the paper in Maya's hands was an official document, and her happy tears looked suspiciously like worried tears. Mrs. Brooks, is everything all right? Did something happen? Maya hesitated, looking at Lila. Well, I received some paperwork this morning about Lila's temporary care arrangements. What kind of paperwork? Ethan asked, stepping closer. The Social Services Department wants to schedule a meeting. They need to evaluate the situation. Maya's voice trembled slightly. Lila looked confused. What does evaluate mean? Nora sat down beside Lila and spoke gently. It means they want to make sure you have everything you need to be safe and happy while your mama gets better. But I am safe and happy, Lila said firmly. Officer Ethan and Nora are taking really good care of me, and Mama is getting better every day. Maya pulled Lila into a hug. I know, sweetheart. It's just that sometimes there are rules and procedures that grown-ups have to follow. Ethan felt a knot forming in his stomach. Mrs. Brooks, when is this meeting scheduled? Tomorrow afternoon, Maya whispered, and they want to meet with Lila too. Lila looked up at her mother with those big brown eyes. Mama, are they going to try to separate us? No, baby, Maya said quickly, though her voice wasn't as confident as her words. We just need to show them that we have a good plan for getting our family back on track. Ethan made a decision right then. Mrs. Brooks, I'm going to make those phone calls right now. Nora, can you stay with Lila and Maya? Of course, Nora said, settling into the chair beside the bed. Officer Ethan, where are you going? Lila asked, suddenly looking worried. Ethan knelt down beside her. Remember what I told you about being treasure hunters today? Well, I'm going to find the most important treasure of all, the right people who can help keep your family together. Lila nodded, but she reached for his hand. Promise you'll come back. I promise, Lila, I'm not going anywhere. As Ethan left the room, Lila turned to Nora. Nora, what if the people tomorrow don't understand that we're a good family? What if they only see the problems and not the love? Nora pulled Lila onto her lap and looked directly into her eyes. Lila, do you know what I've learned in all my years as a nurse? What? People who truly care about children can always recognize love when they see it. And sweetheart, the love between you and your mama shines so bright, anyone would have to be blind to miss it. Lila hugged Nora tightly. I hope you're right. I just want my mama to stop being scared. Maya listened to this exchange and felt her heart break a little more. Her 7-year-old daughter was comforting adults and worrying about her mother's emotions. No child should have to carry such responsibility. But as she watched Lila snuggle against Nora and thought about Ethan making calls to help their family, Maya realized something important. For the first time in months, they weren't facing their challenges alone. Maybe, just maybe, that would make all the difference. Ethan sat in his patrol car outside the hospital, his phone in one hand and a notebook full of phone numbers in the other. He'd never felt more determined about anything in his life. This family needed an advocate, and he was going to be exactly that. His first call was to his longtime friend, Clara Reyes, who worked at the Department of Health Services. Clara, it's Ethan Holloway. I need your help with something important. Ethan, good to hear from you. What's going on? Ethan explained Maya and Lila's situation carefully, emphasizing the medical emergency, the lost documentation, and the upcoming social services meeting. Clara listened without interrupting. Ethan, this sounds like a classic case of someone falling through the cracks. The good news is it's fixable. The challenging news is we need to move fast. What do we need to do? First, I can expedite replacement documents. I'll need you to bring Mrs. Brooks to our office tomorrow morning before the social services meeting. Second, there's an emergency medical assistance program she definitely qualifies for. Ethan felt his first spark of real hope. Clara, you're amazing. What time tomorrow? 10:10 a.m. And Ethan, bring that little girl too. I have a feeling she's going to charm everyone she meets. His second call was to Dr. Patricia Reeves, a social worker Nora had recommended from her nursing days. Dr. Reeves, this is Ethan Carter. Nora Holloway gave me your number. Oh, Nora, how is she? I haven't seen her in months. She's wonderful, actually. She's helping me with a family situation. Ethan explained everything again, this time focusing on Lila's remarkable bravery and the strong bond between mother and daughter. Officer Holloway, from what you're describing, this sounds like a family experiencing temporary hardship, not a family that needs to be separated. The key is documenting the support system that's now in place. What kind of documentation? Well, you and Nora stepping in as temporary guardians shows community support. Mrs. Brooks's willingness to seek medical help shows responsible parenting. And the child's emotional stability throughout this crisis shows she feels secure and loved. Ethan scribbled notes furiously. What should we expect at tomorrow's meeting? Probably a social worker who's overworked and dealing with difficult cases all day. If we can show them a clear, practical plan for family stability, they'll likely be relieved to close the case successfully. By his third call, Ethan was feeling more confident. He dialed the hospital's financial assistance program. This is Jennifer at Patient Services. How can I help you? Jennifer, I'm calling about Maya Brooks, who was admitted yesterday. I understand she's facing significant medical costs. Are you a family member? I'm a friend helping with her case. Ethan decided not to mention he was a police officer unless necessary. Well, I can tell you that Mrs. Brooks does qualify for our hardship program, but she needs to complete an application and provide financial documentation. What if she doesn't have tax returns or pay stubs from regular employment? We work with people in all kinds of situations, sir. She has bank statements, letters from employers, even utility bills. Showing her address, we can work with that. Ethan hung up and immediately called Nora. Mom, how's Lila doing? She's reading a book to her mother right now. Maya looks much better and Lila is well. She's remarkable. Ethan, how did your calls go? Ethan shared all the good news. He could hear Nora smile through the phone. Ethan, this is wonderful. You know what this means? What? It means that little girl's faith in you was exactly right. You really are going to be able to fix this. When Ethan returned to the hospital room an hour later, he found Lila curled up next to her mother on the hospital bed, both of them looking at a picture book together. The sight stopped him in his tracks. Officer Ethan, Lila called out when she saw him. Look, Mama is feeling so much better that she read me 3 whole stories. Maya smiled at him, and for the first time since he'd met her, she looked genuinely hopeful. Lila told me you went to make important phone calls. Any good news? Ethan pulled up a chair, his notebook still in hand. Actually, yes, really good news. He explained about tomorrow's appointment with Clara, the financial assistance program, and Dr. Reeves's advice about the social services meeting. Lila listened intently, though some of the details were clearly over her head. When Ethan finished, she asked the most important question. Does this mean Mama and I can stay together? Lila, Ethan said carefully, it means we have a very good plan to make sure that happens. Maya's eyes filled with tears, but this time Ethan could tell they really were happy tears. Officer Ethan, Maya said softly, I don't know how I'll ever repay you for this. Mrs. Brooks, watching Lila read to you just now, seeing how much you two love each other, that's payment enough. Lila looked at Ethan with those wise brown eyes. Officer Ethan, I think you're discovering something important. What's that, sweetheart? Sometimes when you help other people, you end up helping yourself too. Ethan stared at this 7-year-old who seemed to understand life better than most adults. She was absolutely right. Helping this family was healing something in his own heart that he hadn't even realized was broken. Lila, he said quietly, I think you're going to grow up to be very wise. I hope so, Lila said seriously. The world needs more people who know how to help. The next morning arrived bright and clear. Lila woke up early, carefully choosing her favorite dress, the blue one with small flowers that her mama had bought for her birthday. She wanted to look her very best for the important meetings. You look beautiful, sweetheart, Nora said, braiding Lila's hair with a matching blue ribbon. Are you nervous? A little, Lila admitted. But Officer Ethan says we have a good plan, so I'm trying to be brave like Mama taught me. Ethan drove them to the Department of Health Services first, where Clara Reyes was waiting with a warm smile and a folder full of paperwork. You must be Lila, Clara said, kneeling down. Officer Holloway told me you're the brave girl who saved her mama. Lila shook Clara's hand politely. I just did what anyone would do. When someone you love needs help, you get help. Clara looked at Ethan with raised eyebrows. You were right about her being special. The paperwork process took 2 hours, but Clara made it as easy as possible. She helped Maya fill out forms, explained each program in simple terms, and made phone and calls to expedite approvals. Mrs. Brooks, Clara said finally, I have wonderful news. You qualify for emergency medical assistance, temporary housing support, and the expedited documentation program. Your medications will be covered starting immediately. Maya's hands trembled as she signed the final papers. I can't believe it's really happening. Sometimes the system works exactly like it's supposed to. Clara smiled, especially when you have good advocates. Lila tugged on Clara's sleeve. Miss Clara, does this mean my mama can come home soon? Very soon, sweetie. Once. The doctor says she's ready. Their next stop was the hospital, where Dr. Martinez had more good news. Mrs. Brooks, your blood work this morning shows significant improvement. With your medication secured and a clear follow-up plan, I think you can go home tomorrow. Lila clapped, her hands together. Really? Tomorrow? Really? Dr. Martinez laughed. But first, we need to make sure everything goes well at your meeting this afternoon. The social services meeting was scheduled for 2 p.m. Ethan, Nora, Maya, and Lila sat in a small conference room waiting for Ms. Jennifer Walsh, the caseworker. When Ms. Walsh entered, Lila was surprised. She had expected someone stern and scary, but Ms. Walsh was a young woman with kind eyes and a gentle voice. Hello, everyone, I'm Jennifer Walsh. I'm here to make sure Lila has everything she needs during this family transition. Lila looked at her mother, then at Ethan and Nora, then back at Ms. Walsh. Ma'am, I do have everything I need. I have my mama, who loves me more than anything, and I have Officer Ethan and Nora, who are taking care of us like family. Ms. Walsh smiled. That's wonderful to hear, Lila. Mrs. Brooks, can you tell me about your current situation? Maya explained everything. Her illness, the lost documentation, the financial struggles, and how Ethan and Nora had stepped in to help. She spoke clearly and honestly, without shame or apology. And Officer Holloway, Ms. Walsh turned to Ethan, you're willing to continue providing temporary support? Absolutely, Ethan said firmly, for as long as this family needs it. Ms. Walsh made notes on her clipboard. Lila, can you tell me how you're feeling about everything that's happened? Lila thought carefully before answering. Well, I was scared when Mama got sick, but I knew what to do because she taught me to ask for help when I need it. And now I'm not scared anymore because I know we have people who care about us. What makes you feel safe, Lila? Knowing that Mama is getting better and knowing that even when things are hard, there are good people who will help us like Officer Ethan and Nora and Miss Clara and Dr. Martinez and, well, lots of people. Ms. Walsh looked around the room at the faces watching. Her, Ethan's determined expression, Nora's grandmotherly warmth, Maya's quiet strength, and Lila's remarkable composure. Mrs. Brooks, I've reviewed all the documentation from this morning. Your medical assistance is in place. You have stable temporary housing with built-in childcare support, and you have a clear path forward. Maya held her breath. Based on everything I've seen and heard today, I'm recommending that this case be closed with a positive outcome. Lila clearly has a loving, stable environment with her mother and a strong support system. Lila looked confused. Does that mean good news or bad news? Ms. Walsh laughed. Very good news, Lila. It means you and your mama get to stay together, and all the adults who care about you will keep helping until your family is completely stable. Lila jumped up and hugged her mother, then ran to hug Ethan and Nora. We really did it. Ethan felt tears prick his eyes as he watched Lila's joy. This little girl had faced more challenges in 1 week than many adults face in years, and she had done it with grace, courage, and unwavering faith in the goodness of people. "Lila," he said softly, "you never gave up hope, did you?" "Nope," Lila said proudly. "Mama always says that hope is the most important thing to pack when life gets hard, so I made sure to bring extra." Maya looked at her daughter with pure love and amazement. "Lila, my brave, wise girl, you saved us all." "No, Mama," Lila said seriously. "We saved each other. That's what families do." The next morning brought the moment Lila had been waiting for. Discharge day. She bounced excitedly in the hospital hallway while Nora helped Maya pack her few belongings. "Mama, are you really strong enough to come home?" Lila asked for the 10th time, holding her mother's hand tightly. "I'm much stronger, baby," Maya smiled, though she still moved slowly. "The medicine is working, and having you and our new friends makes me feel stronger every day." Dr. Martinez appeared with discharge papers and a warm smile. "Mrs. Brooks, you're officially ready to go home. Your medication schedule is clearly outlined here, and you have a follow-up appointment next week." Ethan arrived just as they were, finishing the paperwork. "Ready to see your house again, Lila?" Lila's excitement suddenly dimmed. "Officer Ethan, what if our house doesn't feel like home anymore? What if it's too sad?" Nora knelt down beside Lila. "Sweetheart, do you know what makes a house feel like home?" "What?" "Love. And you and your mama are going to bring all that love right back inside with you." As they drove through Augusta toward Maple Street, Lila pressed her face against the window, watching familiar neighborhoods pass by. Everything looked the same, but somehow different too. When they pulled up to the small blue house with white shutters, Lila gasped. The tiny front yard had been transformed. Fresh flowers bordered the walkway. The grass was neatly trimmed, and someone had painted the front door a cheerful yellow. "What happened to our house?" Lila whispered in amazement. Ethan smiled mysteriously. "Well, Nora might have made a few phone calls to some friends from the community center, and I might have spent yesterday evening doing a little yard work." Maya stared at her home, tears streaming down her face. "You didn't have to do all this. We wanted to," Nora said simply. "Everyone needs to come home to something beautiful. Inside, more." Surprises waited. The kitchen was stocked with groceries. Clean laundry was folded neatly on the couch, and fresh flowers sat on the dining table in a mason jar. Lila ran from room to room, discovering small touches everywhere. New books on her nightstand, art supplies on the kitchen counter, and her favorite snacks in the pantry. "Officer Ethan." "Nora, this is like magic," Lila called out from her bedroom. Maya sat down heavily on her couch, overwhelmed. "I don't understand. Why would you do all this for strangers?" Ethan sat across from her, while Nora settled beside Lila, who had found the new books. "Mrs. Brooks, you're not strangers anymore. Somewhere in the last few days you became family, but I can't repay this kindness. I don't have anything to give back." Lila looked up from her books with that serious expression that made her seem much older than 7. "Mama, remember what you always tell me about gifts." "What's that, sweetheart?" "You said the best way to repay a gift is to someday give a gift to someone else who needs it. And the best way to thank people who help you is to help other people when you can." Nora smiled at Lila. "Your mama taught you very well." Maya wiped her eyes. I've been so scared for so long. Scared I couldn't take care of Lila properly. Scared I'd lose everything. Scared I wasn't strong enough to handle being sick and being a single mother." "And now," Ethan asked gently, "now I realize that being strong doesn't mean doing everything alone. It means being brave enough to accept help when you need it, and being wise enough to build relationships with people who care." And Lila climbed onto the couch beside her mother. "Mama, does this mean we're not scared anymore?" Maya wrapped her arms around her daughter. "Well, life might still have challenges, baby, but we're not facing them alone anymore." That evening, they shared dinner around Maya's small dining table. The first meal the four of them had eaten together in Maya's home. Lila insisted on saying, "Grace, thank you for bringing Officer Ethan and Nora into our lives," she said seriously, her small hands folded. "Thank you for making Mama healthy again. And thank you for showing us that families can grow bigger when people love each other." "Amen to that," Nora said softly. After dinner, as Nora and Ethan prepared to leave, Lila presented them with a drawing she'd made while her mother rested. It showed 4 stick figures holding hands in front of a yellow-oared house with a big sun overhead, and the words "My Family" written in careful 7-year-old handwriting. "This is us," Lila explained. "See, there's Mama and me and Officer Ethan and Nora. We're all holding hands because we take care of each other." Ethan looked at the drawing and felt his heart swell with emotion he hadn't experienced since his wife died. This little girl had not only saved her mother's life, she had somehow saved his too. "Lila," he said, kneeling down to her level, "this is the most beautiful picture I've ever seen. Can I keep it, of course? But Officer Ethan, can I ask you something important?" "Anything, sweetheart. Even though Mama and I are home now, you and Nora will still be our family, right? This isn't goodbye." Ethan looked at Maya, who nodded with tears in her eyes, then at Nora, who was already smiling. "Lila, this is definitely not goodbye. This is just the beginning of our family story." Lila hugged him tightly. "Good, because I think we still have lots of adventures ahead of us." 3 weeks after coming home, life felt perfect. Maya was healthy. Lila was thriving in school, and their evening dinners with Ethan and Nora had become magical family time. But on a Tuesday morning, everything changed. When someone knocked loudly on their door, Maya opened it to find a tall man in an expensive suit, David Miller, Lila's biological father, who had been absent for 3 years. "Maya Brooks, I'm here for my daughter." Lila appeared behind her mother, confused. She barely remembered this man who claimed to be her father. "David, you can't just appear after 3 years," Maya said, her hands shaking. "I can provide Lila with opportunities you clearly can't. Private school, a big house in Atlanta. I'm taking her today." Lila stepped protectively in front of her mother. "I don't want to go anywhere. This is my home with my real family. I'm your real father," David said coldly. "Pack your things, Lila. We're leaving." "No," Lila said firmly. "Mama, call Officer Ethan right now." David laughed. "A police officer can't help with family matters." Lila looked directly at him with the same brave expression she'd had when she saved her mother's life. "Officer Ethan isn't just a police officer. He's my family, and families protect each other." As Maya frantically dialed Ethan's number, David checked his expensive watch. "You have 1 hour to get her ready, Maya. I'm not leaving Augusta without my daughter." Lila grabbed her mother's hand tightly. "Don't worry, Mama. We're stronger together than anyone is alone." But as David's cold smile grew wider, Maya wondered if their love would be enough against someone with money and lawyers. Ethan arrived within minutes, his sirens blazing. The moment he saw David pacing on the porch and Lila clinging to her mother through the window, he knew this was serious. "Good morning," Ethan said calmly to David. "I'm Ethan Carter. I understand. There's a family discussion happening here. This is private family business. Officer, no crime is being committed. You're right. No crime. But I am a friend of this family, and I want to ensure everyone understands their legal rights." Lila rushed to the door. "Officer Ethan, thank goodness you're here." Ethan knelt to her level. "Hey there, brave girl. How are you holding up? This man wants to take me to Atlanta, but I don't want to go. This is my home." David stepped forward impatiently. "I am her biological father. I have rights." Ethan stood up, his voice remaining calm but firm. "Mr. Miller, when did you last have contact with your daughter?" "That's not relevant. Actually, it's very relevant. In Georgia, 3 years of no contact typically constitutes legal abandonment." David's confidence wavered. "I've been establishing myself professionally." Ethan pulled out his phone, showing an official document. "Mr. Miller, 3 weeks ago, Lila was placed under temporary guardianship arrangements through the state. Those arrangements are still legally active." "What does that mean?" David demanded. "It means any changes to Lila's living situation require court approval. You cannot simply take her today." Lila looked up at Ethan with pure admiration. "You were protecting us even when we didn't know we needed protecting." David's phone rang, his lawyer explaining legal procedures and waiting periods. When he hung up, his arrogance had completely deflated. "This isn't over," he mumbled, but his voice lacked conviction. "Mr. Miller," Ethan said respectfully, "if you're genuinely interested in knowing Lila, there are proper ways. But taking a child from a loving home isn't in anyone's best interest." Lila stepped forward bravely. "Mr. Miller, if you want to try being a real father, I'm willing to try too, but it has to be here with my family." As David drove away, Maya collapsed on the porch steps, overwhelmed. "Ethan, what if he comes back with lawyers?" Ethan sat beside her. "Maya, look at Lila. Look at how brave and wise she is. That's the result of exceptional parenting." Lila climbed between them. "We're stronger together than anyone is alone, and now we know Grandpa Ethan is always thinking ahead to protect us." 2 weeks later, Nora arrived Saturday morning carrying a mysterious envelope and wearing the biggest smile Lila had ever seen. "Nora, you look like you have a wonderful secret," Lila said, bouncing with curiosity. "I do have a secret, and it's the best news ever. But first, I need to talk to your mama." Maya emerged from the kitchen, curious. "Good. Morning, Nora. You're here early. Is everything all right?" "Everything is perfect. In fact, it's about to get even more perfect." Nora. YouTube.com. Watch. VWFX Usin Downway BV4YNPP 2AB W% 3D% 3D held up the envelope. "This came yesterday, but it's really for all of us." Lila clapped her hands. "What is it? Is it good news?" "It's the most wonderful news," Nora said carefully, opening the envelope. "Lila, you need to sit down for this." Nora pulled out an official document and a colorful card. "Do you remember when we filled out special paperwork a few weeks ago?" "Yes, ma'am." "About making our family official." Nora's smile grew radiant. "This letter is from Adoption Services. If you and your mama would like it, Ethan and I would love to become your official grandparents through kinship adoption." Lila jumped up. "What does that mean exactly?" "It means legally, officially, and forever. Ethan and I would be your real family, your actual grandfather and grandmother." Maya started crying, happy tears. "Nora, that's incredible, but are you sure?" Ethan appeared in the doorway. "Lila, after my wife died, I thought I'd never have family again, but you and your mama reminded us what it feels like to love and be loved." Lila ran to hug him. "So we saved each other, just like I always said." "Just like you always said," Ethan confirmed. "Mama, can we say yes? Please, please, please." Maya looked at these two angels who had asked for nothing except the chance to love them. "Yes," she whispered. "Absolutely yes." Lila danced around the room, then stopped thoughtfully. "This means when David comes back, I won't just have Mama. I'll have official grandparents too, a whole family team." Nora nodded. "That's exactly right, sweetheart." Lila looked around at her family and felt her heart grow so full she thought it might burst. "You know what the best part is? This isn't the end of our story. This is just the beginning of our forever family." 6 months later, the Brooks Holloway family had created the most beautiful life together. Maya worked as a patient advocate, helping other families navigate the healthcare system. Lila was thriving in second grade and had become known as the helpful, wise little girl who always encouraged her classmates. One day, Lila asked her teacher if she could give a presentation called How to Help Families in Crisis. "What made you think of that topic, Lila?" Mrs. Taylor asked. "I learned that sometimes good families just need someone to believe in them. I want other kids to know that asking for help is brave, not scary." On presentation day, Maya, Ethan, and Nora all attended. They watched proudly as Lila stood confidently before her classmates. "My name is Lila Brooks Holloway," she began with her new hyphenated name. "A few months ago, my mama got very sick and I didn't know what to do, so I did what she taught me. I asked for help." She told their story simply, showing pictures of their family dinners and adventures. "The most important thing I learned is that families can grow in beautiful ways when people choose to love each other." After her presentation, a shy boy named Marcus raised his hand. "Lila, my Nora takes care of me because my mom is sick too. Sometimes I feel scared." Lila walked to his desk. "Being scared is okay, Marcus, but there are always people who want to help. You just have to be brave enough to let them know you need help." Mrs. Taylor wiped away tears watching Lila comfort her classmate with such wisdom. That evening at their weekly family dinner, Ethan said, "Lila, I'm proud of how you shared your story today. You helped other children." "Thanks, Grandpa Ethan. I had a really good story to tell because of all of you." Nora hugged her. "Sweetheart, I think your story is still being written and the best chapters are ahead." Maya looked around at her family and felt perfect peace. 6 months ago, I thought my biggest fear was not being able to care for Lila alone. Now I know the best thing I did was accept help from people who genuinely cared." Lila climbed onto her mama's lap. "Mama, even when I was scared that day, I wasn't really scared we wouldn't be okay, because you taught me that good people always find each other." "Lila," Ethan said softly, "you saved us all." "No, Grandpa Ethan, we saved each other. That's what families do." Spring had arrived in Augusta, and the Brooks Holloway family was planning something very special. Their first official family portrait as legally recognized grandparents and granddaughter. Lila had been planning this surprise for weeks, saving her allowance to buy everyone matching shirts that said, "Family is love in action." "Mama, are you ready for our big family day?" Lila asked excitedly, bouncing on her bed Saturday morning. "I'm ready, baby. Are you excited about our photo session?" "I'm excited about everything. The pictures, our picnic in the park, and my surprise for everyone tonight." When Ethan and Nora arrived, Lila presented them with their matching shirts. "These are so we always remember that we chose to be a family." Nora's eyes filled with happy tears. "Lila, this is the most thoughtful gift." At the photographer's studio, Lila insisted on several different poses, silly ones, serious ones, and her favorite, all 4 of them holding hands in a circle. "This one shows that we're connected," she explained to the photographer. "No matter what happens, we're always connected." During their picnic lunch in the park, Lila made an announcement. "I have something important to tell everyone." "What's that, sweetheart?" Maya asked. "Mrs. Taylor says I can invite special family members to speak to our class about community helpers. I want to invite Grandpa Ethan to talk about being a police officer and Nora Fields to talk about being a nurse." Ethan looked surprised. "Lila, are you sure? That's a big honor." "I'm sure. I want all my friends to meet my family and understand why I'm so proud of you." Nora clapped her hands. "We would be honored, Lila." That evening, as they looked at the first photos on the photographer's camera, Lila pointed to the circle picture. "See? This is what I want everyone to remember. We found each other when we all needed family the most. Mama needed people to help her be strong. Grandpa Ethan needed people to love after being lonely. Nora Fields needed people to take care of. And I needed grandparents who would love me forever." Maya hugged her daughter tightly. "Lila, How did you become so wise? I learned from the best family in the world, Lila said simply. As they drove home, Ethan realized something beautiful. The scared little girl who had run to his patrol car months ago had become the heart and wisdom of their entire family. And tomorrow, she would share their story of love with her whole class, showing other children that families come in many forms, but they're all held together by the same thing, choosing to love each other every single day. 1 year later, Carter was finishing his patrol when he saw something that made his heart stop. A small figure running toward his car, just like that day that changed everything. But this time, it was Lila running with joy instead of fear. "Grandpa Ethan, Grandpa." "Ethan," she called, her face glowing with excitement. Ethan stepped out of his patrol car, smiling. "What's going on, my brave girl? I have the most amazing news. Mama got a promotion at work. She's going to be the head patient advocate for the whole hospital. And guess what else? What else? Mrs. Taylor says, I've been chosen to represent our school at the county-wide presentation about community heroes. I'm going to tell our story to hundreds of people." Ethan knelt down and pulled Lila into a huge hug. "Lila, I am so incredibly proud of you and your mama. But that's not even the best part, Grandpa Ethan. What could be better than this?" Lila's brown eyes glimmered with excitement as she leaned closer to Ethan. "Today's special," she whispered. "It's been exactly 1 year since I ran to your police car asking for help. So, Mama, Nora Fields and I planned a surprise celebration for tonight." That evening, Ethan arrived at their home and stopped short at the sight before him. The porch was strung with twinkling lights, balloons framed the doorway, and a handmade banner stretched across the living room wall. "Happy Family Anniversary. Thank you for listening to a little girl's voice." Maya greeted him at the door, her smile brighter and her face healthier than Ethan had ever seen it. "Ethan," she said warmly, her voice thick with gratitude, "welcome to the celebration of the day that saved all our lives." Inside, Nora was carefully setting the table with their best dishes while Lila busied herself, putting the finishing touches on her scrapbook. She grinned proudly as she carried it over to Ethan. "This is our family story," Lila announced, opening the book. "It starts with the scariest day of my life and ends with the happiest family in Augusta, Georgia." The scrapbook was filled with memories, photos from their first hospital visit, snapshots from their very first family dinner, the day they signed the adoption papers, their official family portrait, and countless little moments in between that had built this beautiful life together. Ethan swallowed hard, blinking away the sting in his eyes. "Lila," he said softly, this is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen." "Look at the last page, Grandpa Ethan," Lila urged, flipping to the end. The final page held her original drawing, a simple sketch of their family holding hands. But now, new names and faces had been added. Maya's co-workers who had become close friends, Lila's teacher, Mrs. Taylor, and even Clara Reyes from the health department, who had supported them through it all. At the very bottom, written carefully in Lila's uneven handwriting, were the words, "Family isn't just who you're born with. Family is who shows up when you need them the most, who listens when you're scared, and who chooses to love you every single day." She looked up, her voice soft but steady. "Thank you for showing me that one small voice can change everything." Later, as they gathered around the dinner table,